Good evening.
Good evening.
Jeez, Micheline Davis got the preaching up here. If young folks say Micheline's hair is always on fleek. So let's clap it up for Micheline Davis. Fleek. I do want to recognize Michelle Adebato, my co-honoree, and Steve Adebato for his leadership in this mighty city, in this mighty state. And I really am passionate about the work he's doing here with young people, because what he's seeking to do is give young people agency over their voices and giving them literally a platform to speak their truth, to paint on their canvas. And so I just want to say a quick word about my own canvas and how it came to be created with the paintbrush that I had. I did not grow up knowing any lawyers at all. But in high school, I had a social studies teacher. His name was Salyudeen Pettigen. And he told me that I could be a lawyer. And this was significant because, again, I didn't know any lawyers at all. But he showed us these black and white videos that chronicled the civil rights movement. They were called Eyes on the Prize. And they featured these heroic Americans whose names we would not know. They wouldn't have many Twitter followers if there was Twitter back then. They wouldn't have many Facebook likes if there was a Facebook back then. But these heroic, unsung Americans literally put themselves in harm's way to move this country away from its very low practices and closer to its high ideals. And I remember in an exchange with Mr. Pettigen after class one day, I said, I wish I had been alive in the 1960s, because if I had been alive in the 1960s, I would have joined in that movement. I would have fought with those civil rights marchers. I would have marched over the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I too would have put myself in harm's way. I would have required that this country make democracy real for all of the people in this country. I would have required that police officers not abuse communities of color. I would have interrupted systems that deny human respect and human dignity to all folks, particularly people of color. I would have marched with them. Mr. Pettigen looked at me fondly, and he said, "Look around. The thing that you say you would have done a generation ago, you can do now." And that story is as true for young people in this room this evening. That what I think is needed right now is a group of young people who are armed with an understanding of the times in which we live, who can be critical of those times, but who can also fashion solutions to the challenging times in which we live. And change, folks know as students of history in this room, change has always come from the ground up in our communities. It has never come from Washington, D.C. down, even now. And so if what we want is to build an inclusive democracy, if what we want is to interrupt systems that deny human dignity and human respect to all Americans, if what we want is a criminal justice system that does not oppress people of color and other communities more broadly, if what we want is an inclusive democracy broadly, we have to create that from the ground up in our communities. I quickly want to say how I've seen this happen in my own home. So I'm blessed to be married to my wife, Charity Haygood. Charity came from Denver, Colorado, and yes, Micheline Davis. Recognize and realize we have a strong black community. It's located in the Lower East Side of Denver, Colorado. At least it was 20 years ago when we lived there. And Charity, 21 years ago, endeavored to leave our home city of Denver and travel across this country in a 1986 Chevrolet Celebrity. Wasn't a Cadillac, folks. It made it, no air conditioning. And she landed in Newark through a program called Teach for America. And for 9 years, she taught at Burgaw Avenue School. This is important, Burgaw Avenue School for 9 years. Then for 5 years, she served as the vice principal at Chancellor Avenue School. And for the last 7 years, she's been the principal at Brick Avon Academy in the mighty South Ward of Newark, New Jersey. When Charity and her team started at Avon Avenue School, they had had a number of principals the previous 4 or 5 years, and they were the lowest performing school in all of Newark. In a short 7 years, working hand in hand with the superintendent and the Newark community and students and parents, they moved the school from the lowest performing school to the middle of the pack in the city of Newark. And while Charity was teaching at Burgaw Avenue School, she had the benefit of teaching this kid whose name was Stacy Alvarez. And Stacy was an incredibly special kid. She was exceedingly bright and hungry. She wanted to read cases in the 7th and 8th grade. And Charity teaches Stacy for a number of years. Stacy goes on to University High School, born and raised in the mighty city of Newark, from Burgaw to university. And then after university, she applies to and ultimately becomes a student at Spelman College. And folks know that Spelman is one of this country's premier institutions of higher learning. Stacy is there for 4 years, and after graduating, decides what she's going to do next with her life. And Stacy subscribed to this belief that the objective really, and coming from a community like Newark, the goal is not to leave. The goal is to find ways to equip yourself with skills you need to serve the community that gave so much to you. And so determined and equipped with this knowledge and a first-rate education from Spelman, Stacy returns through Teach for America to teach in Newark, ultimately at the very school where she was taught by Charity, Burgaw Avenue School. Stacy is now in her 4th year as a school teacher at KIPP, New Jersey, at Thrive Academy. And just last Friday night, Stacy was awarded as a finalist. She was one of 4 people to be nominated for KIPP, New Jersey's highest honor. Let's clap it up for Stacy Alvarez. And so I offer this story because I think it's important, particularly for young people. Yes, we need to know the history to be sure. We need to know, yes, the challenges that we face in these particular times, but we also, and I love the Canvas example, we also need to be mindful of the ways that we can each look at the opportunities for us to change our society from the ground up in our communities, as Stacy and a number of other folks have done, and as folks in this room will do. Thank you so much for this award. I appreciate your time.